So now let's hear from the senior executives that are driving innovation in 5G right now. There's nowhere better to start than with Tim Baxter. He is Samsung's North American president and CEO. He's also a key leader inside CTIA, and he's driving Samsung's bold vision for tomorrow. More than just handsets, like my Galaxy S9 that I love, Samsung is unique in the sheer range of consumer electronic devices. And with 5G, Samsung is making a big push into the network and smart cities. I'm all in, especially on the smart home, and I'm thrilled to welcome Tim here today. Thank you. Here, wait, get a picture.
Okay. Oh.
Here she is. There we go. Awesome.
All right. Good afternoon. You guys hear me okay? All right. Meredith, thank you very much. Representative Brooks, thank you. Excited to be here, and I think Representative Brooks, I think, hit it the nail on the head in terms of education and the requirements around education. I've been here all week, and I've had many, many meetings, many dinners, many events, and 5G is in every single one of those conversations. Maybe a few things like trade and tariff and other things, but 5G is clearly front and center, and I think it's a really exciting time for the industry, and I tend to view it as a once in a decade opportunity for us to get this right and to really seize the opportunity that's there. I also say that because I've been in the consumer electronics and IT and telecom industry for over 30 years, and split rather equally between three companies, and most of those 30 years, and going back clearly 25, we talked about this term called convergence. Everybody remember? Some of us have been in the industry a while, and I did it at AT&T 25 years ago, at Sony 15 years ago, and here at Samsung. And I'm happy to say I think it's finally here. I really believe it, and I think 5G is the critical piece of that. So what I want to share a little bit is some context about how and where we see 5G fitting in within a broader strategy that we have. As I mentioned, we've lived in a world of great but very discrete products with discrete use cases, right? And what we see, however, is this seamless environment where these devices are going to be working together, where they're going to be working with services in a unique way, that are going to be driven by the cloud, that are going to create new experiences that are starting to happen, I think, in some meaningful ways. So we view that as an opportunity to bring this all together. And for us, we're bringing it together with a single cloud, something we call Smart Things Cloud, a single app, and the new user interface, our tongue, voice, right? And it's going to be able us to control and connect these devices, and we're really excited about that. But what we're trying to do is connect not only the 500 million connected devices we sell a year, but we want to connect them with each other, but also connect them with the IoT-based products out there. And that's what motivated us to invest in Smart Things, the single largest platform of IoT-enabled products, open platform. And what we're doing there, using that single cloud, single app, is connecting the top 40 brands in the IoT space along with our 500 million devices and trying to create new and seamless experiences. And that's been a journey, and it started with some investments we made, investments in companies like Viv, which is AI, Joyent, which is the cloud, Smart Things, which is IoT, Harman, which is the connected car. Right? Those are all the foundational elements, we believe, of this seamless world. Building out the stack, starting to look at our business in much different ways around consumer insights and vertical business applications, not just devices and solutions. And we think that's the journey. We think that's where this is going to progress. And we think it's going to be an exciting space. I say that because as we look at bringing all of these devices together, 5G is really the linchpin of that. You know, I believe there's a reason smart cities haven't been able to take off the way we've been talking about them, right? The connected car, driverless, all of these things are going to be enabled, I think, in very exciting ways with 5G. And that's how we think about it from a business strategy. When we talk about 5G, and I think everybody will talk about this, so I won't get into much of a perspective on it, but we know it's about latency and reliability. We know it's about 100 times faster speed, and this machine to machine, you know, that's the technical way of saying we want to connect stuff, right? And for us, it's those 500 million and all those IoT products, and how do we connect them in exciting new ways. But the other context we put upon this is more of a historical context. And when we think about 2G, you know, that enabled us actually to put the phone in our pocket. Right? And 3G, 4G brought the internet into our pocket. And now we feel 5G gives us the power of fiber in our pocket, in our home, in our car, in our office. And we think that's where the opportunities do reside. And we think it will unlock significant potential, significant possibilities. And there's a lot of talk about use cases now in this space, and do we have enough, and what do we need to do? But we know there's some really powerful things. We're starting first in the bottom right there with fixed wireless access, partnering with Verizon in the launch at Sacramento in the second half of this year. 5G will be launched in the second half of this year, right? And that's a starting point. And we're very excited about what that means to us and what we can continue to learn. The enterprise capabilities, I think, are going to be limitless. And I think there'll be more use cases in enterprise to start off than there probably will be on the consumer side. But we think the consumer will develop. And those use cases some will be developed by big companies. I think a lot of them are going to be developed by some kids in a garage drinking Red Bull and coming up with new ideas, right? And isn't that where innovation really occurs in many cases? Mobile 5G, big opportunity. Video IoT and the smart city. I think that there will be a rush for cities and a competition amongst cities to bring smart city to life. And I think that's exciting. And that presents so many opportunities for us. The connected car and vehicle to vehicle, big untapped opportunities there. Mass transit, the 5G train, all of these present, I think, some big, broad use cases, and I think there'll be a lot more that will happen along this way. One of the areas we're extremely excited about is in the connected car, and it was the motivation and the drive behind us investing in Harman. And the work we're doing together to figure out how do we connect these devices, how do we connect the car in new and exciting ways, how do we bring what today has been a sort of a separation between the infotainment in a car and the instrument cluster, and bringing these together, I think, in really exciting ways is going to be pretty special. So at Samsung, what do we think and why are we so excited about our prospects in there? We think we're in a unique position. We believe that our leadership, and we believe we have an early leadership in this, some of the first to market indicators we talked about earlier, but you look at this, chips. We make many of the chips that are going into the networking and these devices and CPE equipment. We have many of those out there, and we have a suite of networking equipment available now, in the market now, happening now, and we're excited about that. But I think equally important, and surely in the environment we're operating in today, right here in DC, we think the importance of secure 5G couldn't be greater. Right? We believe that having a trusted supply chain couldn't be more important. And those are things that we are focusing on as additional components of how we think we can lead in this space. And speaking of the network side, we have a few of our network folks here, but you know, we have had a long-standing history in both 2G and CDMA and 4G, and in the last 6 or 7 years in 5G. So this didn't start last month. Right? This is work that's been going on for quite some time, and it has led to a number of trials that are happening there. So this is an important investment for us. And we see this fundamental change as a big business opportunity for Samsung. Samsung has had many of its greatest successes when there was big technological change. The shift from analog to digital, the shift from tube televisions to flat, or from male-centric to female. All of those were big sea changes that were going on, and anticipating and making big bets in that. And we view that as the opportunity here in the network space. We look at some of the trials we're doing. And we're not the only one doing trials. We know that. Yet we're very happy and feeling very confident about the trial and the activity we've done. And here's a few of those. The first one, KT in Korea, using 5G NR and just testing the end-to-end capabilities of it. KDDI with the next 3. The first one was in Everland Raceway, traveling at 120 miles an hour and having handoffs and handovers happening there. 8K transmission in Japan at 60 miles an hour in 5G. How do you test in stadiums? This is a 30,000 person stadium in Okinawa, where we had transmission simultaneously of live feeds going to 50 tablets. So these are really, I think, meaningful trials that determine the validity and the capabilities that exist. But it doesn't stop there. We talked a little bit about use cases. We have a big innovation lab in Mountain View that looks at future technologies, future trends, future capabilities, and marries those to develop devices, whether it be in our appliances, our televisions, or our mobile devices. Well, this team has been working for the last 120 days on 5G use cases. And we've identified about 100 new use cases in this space. But we're trying to apply not only those lifestyle and technology intersections, but also a recognition that this will not happen as a national rollout day one. So you can't just think about use cases that apply to a national rollout. You have to think about what it means in Indianapolis to launch something, what it means in a corridor, and how do we create use cases? What does it mean in a city, and how do we create those? And so we've unleashed some of the brightest minds that are not in the mobile or network business, but are in the innovation business to think about this. And we think it's going to yield some really positive outcomes. And we're working with, and we'll be working with many of our partners to flush these out in the coming months. Speaking of partners, we have trials going with every one of the service providers out there, and many of them that are in the room today. You talked about one of those, Senator Brooks. We have many of them. We're excited about it, and we're testing different things in different markets and learning things. And those are yielding some positive results that will come to market, as we mentioned, the first one happening with Sacramento. I'd have to recognize and thank the FCC too. We have been able to authorize the first 5G commercial devices, and that was done in February of this year. And it's this base station as well as this outdoor unit that adheres to the outside of your home. And we also will follow that with one that goes inside your home, a CPE, to deliver that fixed wireless capability. And so we're excited about having that first commercial solution available. But we think collaboration is going to be what determines the success. It's going to be required. And we're engaged with all members of the value chain, from our service providers to DC and policy, to the FCC and its role, a critical role in this, as well as the technology partners that working with, many of which you'll hear from today in the chipset space and otherwise. So we're excited about that. I think, as Meredith said, this is going to take some work. We need the help on streamlining the siting. We need more spectrum. I know there's a big thrust on the millimeter wave auction later this year, and we need the mid-tier as well. So we're excited about that, and I think the collaboration is going to determine our success in this area. So, to wrap up, we're excited about the prospects of this. And I guess if you're in DC these days, you have to have a chart that talks about your history in the U.S. So ours, we're celebrating our 40th year in the U.S. this summer. Over 20,000 employees, and we've invested over $30 billion in the U.S. Nearly $17 billion of that in Austin for our semiconductor facility, and over $10 billion in the last 18 months alone on those investments in cloud, in connected car, in AI, in AR, and we're excited about that. We have a clear vision as to where we think this market is going and the role 5G, the critical role 5G will play on that. And given we've had 35 years of innovation here in the wireless space in the US, we think that this is a ripe time for the industry. We think it's an exciting time. We think it's an important time. And we're up for that challenge. We're excited about it. We're interested in leading and being part of that and help creating this with all the participants in the value chain. So I just want to say thank you and enjoy the rest of the day.